Joe, is your
It's gonna be there for the start
speaker
of
on?
the thing.
No.
Will you do- I don't know, turn it on for me.
Never mind.
And
It's
Jeff,
not.
I don't know if it's good.
There was too many phones.
Might say something you don't want people to hear.
Yeah.
We'll call the meeting to order and begin with the pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
approval of the agenda. There's no changes to the agenda, so I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
So moved.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion?
These guys see
If
this over
not,
there?
all those in favor say
These
aye.
guys have.
Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Approval of the minutes. They're found on pages 1 through 5. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes as printed.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as printed. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Public input. I've got one thing that I want to say at public input. Dwayne Hofteaser passed away, and that's Ron's dad. So, we're gonna close the office for the funeral Friday at 11 and attend in a group. Is there anything else for public input? If not, we'll go to the department heads found on pages 6 through 8. Are there any questions for the department heads?
Now, on this, December 29th, 2001, the body cameras, that is for last year, or this is the oncoming year?
No, that's for last year's budget. I had enough money for last year's budget, and so I put all the cameras on last year's budget.
Okay, I thought we had left this the other night, that we were gonna wait till this year to pay for them, so if a grant ever came up
Yeah, and the grant did come up and we didn't get that.
for last year,
Yeah.
not this next year.
Well, yeah, we're not in the running for the grant at all. Let's just put it that way for the time being. So, I mean, I had enough money in my budget for last year, so I purchased the body cameras on last year's budget.
Is there
Do you already
anything,
know that there's not a grant, any grants for
They sent me an
22?
email. They sent me an email.
Okay.
There was like 1,000 agencies, apparently, at least 1,000 agencies that apparently put in for the grant. I mean, it was pretty, there's a lot of people, working on it. And, I guess if there's additional funding for it, maybe we'd be in consideration, but I don't know how long that would be. You know, that might be a year down the road, 2 years down the road. And I really think that we had to get the body camera ordered probably pretty soon. That's what I did.
Yeah, it was my assumption we was gonna have them ordered last year to be billed next year, or this year, I should say.
Yeah, and I had money in my budget for
But
last
they're
year.
not billed for this year, so if grants do come up this year, it won't be available for it.
Well, it depends on the funding.
Yeah, but you don't know, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
play the cards to the best you can.
Yeah, exactly. I had money in my grant, or my budget last year, so I got it taken care of last year. Anyway, I got 4 of them ordered. I figured, let's just get them ordered. I had money set So that way we don't have to worry about running into maybe budget issues this year, where you folks have to supplement my budget, whatever. I had money in my budget last year, so I ordered them last year and put them on last year's budget.
Is there anything else?
So I'll just bring this up quick. Ron's not here from the street department. I don't think, did he? Didn't Joe? And so we did walk that letter that we had from last week with the ADA contact that we had had. Ron and I did walk that street and looked that all over, and I'll be in contact with the ADA and with that department in Pier. And anyway, we've got a plan of what we're doing to move ahead with that. So since Ron's not here to talk about that.
So, Bob, how does that work then if it isn't ADA approved? Does the homeowner have to pay for that to?
You know, I think it just depends on whether it's a homeowner or a business owner where the problem is at. Yep, and so I've already contacted the people that needed to be contacted. There's nothing we can do about it at this time of year, but I have been in contact already with them, that something will need to happen by next spring to take care of that.
But it
so.
would probably be the business owner or the homeowner's responsibility
Yes.
to
I think so, yes.
see that it's ADA approved.
Right, to make it passable and within the city guidelines of how far the concrete can be off, or, should be perfectly flat, but, or,
Geez, I'm glad I don't have sidewalk.
Is there anything else? If not, you want to just go to number 2?
Yeah, we started.
We have Michelle Stuck from Rural Advocate Family Crisis Center here. So I'm gonna go to number 2. And number 3, if you wanna give us a little rundown on,
Hello, my name is Janelle Fortin. I'm the director of the Family Crisis Center in Redfield. Michelle Stuck is our Rural Advocate Shelter Coordinator. She just started in November. We are presenting a resolution stating that the people in this area have the support of a locally managed entity to assist families in need of assistance and victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and designates the Family Crisis Center as the entity of choice. We'd like to explain about our purpose, how it came to be, and the situations we deal with. We'll run through this pretty fast because we know you're all busy. I was working at the nursing home years ago when I first met Sherry Aker. Her and her daughter had left an abusive relationship and returned to Redfield. She talked about her situation, about starting a crisis center for those in her same position in Redfield. She, with the help of the state's attorney and a small group of others, helped Sherry incorporate the nonprofit Family Crisis Center on December 17, 1986. The purpose was to provide temporary emergency refuge for persons and their children who have suffered physical and/or emotional abuse as a result of family violence. Sherry Aker Castaigne has continued to assist battered victims by establishing multiple family crisis centers around the country.
The Family Crisis Center now serves Hand, Falk, and Spink County by answering crisis calls 24/7, doing follow-ups with victims, giving them referrals, and maintaining a shelter safe house that houses 7 beds in Redfield for up to 10 victims from these 3 counties that have been victimized by domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, human trafficking, elder abuse, stalking, adults molested as children, and other victims of violent crimes, and their dependents, at no charge and with no income eligibility standards. This allows victims the time to make decisions about their future plans while staying in a safe place with food, clothing, transportation, gas, counseling, and relocation expenses provided free of charge. We listen, offer support, and offer referrals for assistance to those that contact us for help.
And we brought a basket of different imprinted items that have our name and phone number on there. We'd like you to pass it around for everyone that's here tonight, just to get our name out there and phone number, and that we are available 24/7. Our current shelter, called Ginny's House, was donated by Ginny Stapp's family in 2012 in her honor and moved to Redfield. Ginny was a very understanding, compassionate person and had been on the Family Crisis Center board for many years. The garage was added on in 2013, and Ginny's House opened on August 1st, 2013, with the help of numerous volunteers and staff. We are advocates that assist victims, whoops, that's yours.
We are advocates that assist victims in finding attorneys, obtaining protection orders, attending court with them, and working with law enforcement. We work as medical advocates by accompanying victims to the hospital when obtaining medical assistance for injuries or sexual assault. We refer them to counselors for emotional counseling services, and our VOCA grant can pay for this assistance. We help victims find housing by offering referrals as well as job assistance to help work towards independent living. We do school presentations in all 7 of the public schools in the 3 counties to teach awareness of bullying, safe dating to 8th graders, and safety when starting college to high school seniors. We hope to get DVDs made to present to all the grades K through 12. Kids need to learn early that abuse is not acceptable behavior so they don't grow up thinking this is what everyone does. We bring awareness to help prevent acts of violence by speaking to church groups and civic organizations in the 3 counties. By helping people recognize that physical, sexual, and emotional abuse and coercive and financial control are forms of abuse and understand that it is not okay, and then step in to help, we can prevent it in our communities.
There is a cost to all of us. City Police in Miller picking up the abuser in a domestic violence situation, making an arrest, and transporting to jail costs the city a minimum of $300, depending on the number of deputies required and their amount of time involved. Transporting to jail depends on availability, whether they go to Faulkton or Huron. After that point, the Han County Sheriff's Office covers the costs. Jail costs are $85 a night. Simple assaults are usually 1 night in jail. If the charge is aggravated assault and there is a hearing, it may be 2 to 3 nights in jail. At a minimum cost to Han County could be $300 for man hours. This is just the law enforcement cost. No medical or hospital fees are included in this. This does not include any further jail, sentencing, or jail time.
For the victim, cost is anywhere from $184 to $974 in the emergency room. This all depends on how physical or sexual the abuse was. Does the person need surgery or an extended hospital stay? Numerous things go into this cost. Work costs vary significantly. For a $15 an hour job, it would amount to about $120 per day in lost wages for the victim. But that does not tell you about the lost production from that employee. The other thing to consider is how long they are out from work. Do they have insurance? If not, where is that cost going to be distributed? Emotional support can be never ending. The victim has to deal with what happened to them forever. It is not something that goes away the day after it was reported. It has to be a community-wide effort to prevent the abuse by starting in the schools, protect those that are victims of abuse, and prevail by helping victims recover and have a life without abuse.
We now operate on only one VOCA, Victims of Crime Act, federal grant that is matched by our volunteer on-call hours, and one DASA, Domestic and Sexual Assault State Grant, which provide emergency funds for victims, and a sub-grant through the South Dakota Network Against Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault. In order to get the grants, we must acquire 25% of the funds from other sources. We get this help from the cities of Redfield and Miller, the counties of Falk, Han, and Spink, our fundraising efforts with the help of our board, and cash donations from area churches, church groups, schools, banks, businesses, civic organizations, and clubs and individuals.
The Victims of Crime Act funds took some devastating cuts this last year, so our grant that we received from them was drastically cut as well. We received 25% less than we had requested to operate for fiscal year 2022, which began on July 1st of 21. Additional funds from an American Rescue Plan grant was applied for, and we were awarded another $10,000, but this still leaves us about $18,000 short from what we need for this coming year to operate and help those as we have helped other victims in prior years. We accept donation furniture and household items to help people set up a home following exiting a domestic violence situation to those in need. We appreciate the monetary donations from the communities we serve, as that support enables us to qualify for the grants, so we continue our service to all victims in all 3 counties.
In 2020, we have the stats for that. We're still, don't have everything entered for 2021 yet, but I do have some of them that I brought tonight. In 2020, we answered 31 crisis calls, 1,023 other calls, referrals, and follow-ups. 1,054 total calls were answered in 2020. We sheltered 4 kids and 8 women for a total of 430 total shelter days in 2020. Now, the stats that I pulled tonight from 2021 that I got off of there, we did follow-ups of 3,272 calls, and we had total victim shelter days of 1,248.
This is why we want to educate everyone about abuse, whether it be physical, emotional, child, human trafficking, domestic, elder abuse, or stalking. We want to put the word out about abuse and that there is assistance for those suffering abuse of all kinds by doing videos, billboards, radio ads, and our website. We want everyone to know that if they are in an abusive situation, that the Family Crisis Center is there for them. We want everyone to be aware of this so that when victims ask their employer, clergy, teacher, or friend about it, they can be told that the Family Crisis Center is there to help or to call our crisis line at 605-472-0508.
Information from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence defines domestic violence as the willful intimidation, physical assault, battery, sexual assault, and/or other abusive behavior as part of a systemic pattern of power and control perpetrated by one intimate partner dominating over another. Abusers purposely use numerous tactics of abuse to instill fear in the victim and maintain control over them. Domestic violence is prevalent in every community and affects all people regardless of age, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, gender, race, religion, or nationality. The devastating consequences of domestic violence can cross generations and last a lifetime. It includes physical violence, sexual violence, threats, economic, and emotional, psychological abuse. Psychological abuse involves trauma to the victim caused by verbal abuse, acts, threats of acts, or coercive tactics. Victims of psychological abuse often experience depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, suicidal ideation, low self-esteem, and difficulty trusting others. Psychological abuse is a stronger predictor of PTSD than physical abuse among women. Domestic violence occurs in dating relationships as well as marriages.
The overreaching strategy used by abusers is referred to as coercive control. This includes a combination of abusive tactics such as isolation, degradation, micromanagement, manipulation, stalking, physical abuse, sexual coercion, threats, and punishment. An abuser may use some of these tactics or vary when they use them, but combined and used over time, they are effective in establishing dominance over their victim. A dominant and controlling partner may initially present at the onset of a relationship as wonderful, loving, and attentive. They may be charming, successful, well-liked, are often very romantic, and interested in their partner's interests and desires. They may want to be with them all the time, attentive and charming with their partner's friends and family, supportive and kind. However, over time, these behaviors start to change. The attention that may have initially felt exciting and flattering starts to feel isolating and controlling. The victimized person may start to feel isolated from friends and family because their partner dominates so much of their time. The abuser may start to object to their partner's time spent with others or make it so difficult to do things independently of them that the victim stops doing so. Prolonged exposure to this type of treatment combined with periods of loving and desired behaviors by the controlling partner can lead to victimized person feeling trapped, silenced, and lacking self-esteem. If the victimized person tries to assert themselves, the abuser often ramps up the abuse and may become more and more controlling and abusive. Soon the victimized person may come to fear the abuser for various valid reasons and may feel they are unable to escape or leave. It is important to note that a victimized person may not be able to get away from their abuser because the abuser will not let them do so.
On average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. During 1 year, this equates to more than 10 million women and men. On a typical day, domestic violence hotlines receive approximately 21,000 calls, approximately 15 calls every minute. Abusive partners use children to control victims. Fathers who batter the mothers of their children are twice as likely to seek sole custody of their children as non-abusive fathers. Courts award sole or joint custody to fathers in 70% of custody cases. Abusive parents use child custody as a way to continue to threaten and harass the victim and often threaten to gain sole custody, kill, kidnap, or otherwise harm children if victims leave. Domestic violence creates a violent and hostile environment that can have devastating effects on children, both physical and emotional. Children who have been exposed to domestic violence can become fearful and anxious, concerned for themselves, siblings, and their parents. They may begin to feel worthless and powerless. Children exposed to violence may have difficulty paying attention and display depression and withdrawal. In the long run, children who witness or experience violence at home are much more likely to perpetrate the cycle of abuse in their own relationships as they grow into adulthood. Children who witness intimate partner violence growing up are 3 times as likely as their peers to engage in violent behavior. Children raised in abusive homes learn that violence is an appropriate way to solve conflict. These children are more likely than their peers to be in abusive intimate partner relationships in the future, either as victims or perpetrators.
Abuse in later life comprises financial, physical, sexual, and emotional abuse, abandonment, and neglect. Perpetrators are people with whom the victim has an expectation of trust, particularly spouses, intimate partners, adult children, grandchildren, other family members, and non-related caregivers. It can result in the loss of independence, security, life savings, health, dignity, and can be deadly. Support domestic and sexual violence education, prevention, and intervention programs in your community. If you or someone you know is the victim of domestic abuse, or if they need someone to talk to, please contact the Family Crisis Center at 605-472-0508. And thank you very much for your time and attention this evening.
Does anyone have any questions?
Is any comments or questions?
I have a comment, Mr. Mayor, and that the Family Crisis Center is a tremendous resource to us in our community and to us, law enforcement. You know, we, as law enforcement officers, we have to concern ourselves with the totality of the circumstance. It's a tremendous resource for us to be able to pick up the phone and call one of these ladies and say, hey, we got this situation going, can you help us with this situation with this victim? And we let them take care of the victim while we take care of the circumstance. So just want to say thank you, ladies.
And thank you.
Anybody else got
So then
anything?
the reason we've used this service before, it sounds like.
Many times.
So do we have to have a resolution for that, or I guess I'm not understanding why we have to have.
Well, the resolution, it says that we're an entity of choice for helping people and we're supported by the community. And that's what I brought tonight. And those resolutions we send in with our grant applications and it helps us get the grants that we used to
Although
operate.
we've always used your services, we haven't had a resolution, so you could add it on to the
Right.
stuff. Gotcha.
It's something that the grant, that they
One of the
require.
rules. Alright.
Is there anything else? I'd like to thank you for coming,
Thank you for your
for a
time.
good presentation.
I'll send the resolution tomorrow, after he signs everything tomorrow morning, I'll get that in the mail to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to do that resolution now?
I have it written up our way,
What?
I have it written up like all of our
Oh.
other ones, so I'll just send, I always send it to him the next day.
You're gonna send it then tomorrow after I sign it. Okay. I'm gonna go to number 4 here for this pool committee.
Should we do number 3 and approve that resolution real quick first?
Yeah. Has everybody read the resolution for the Family Crisis Center? I would entertain a motion to either approve or reject resolution number 2022-2.
I guess I'll make the motion, we approve resolution 2022-2.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2022-2 for the Family Crisis Center. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. I'm gonna go to number 4 for the pool committee, and I'm gonna ask, Brian Breitling to represent the pool committee.
Thanks for letting me come and speak tonight. Just wanted to provide a little bit of a, I guess, a refresher of where we're at. So the pool committee, we presented in July. We gave some awareness of some information. We talked about the pool and then some options. And we haven't heard any results yet. So just a little bit of background. Most of you are well aware that the pool has some maintenance concerns. You know, Terry would probably attest to that. And so Burbach Aquatics either reached out or was contacted, and then you developed a relationship to do a study on some options with that pool. So a pool committee locally was formed about a year and a half ago to discuss some opportunities with the pool. We met for about a year. I think it was 10 meetings over that 12-month period. We reviewed the status of the pool. There's a very thick analysis of all the issues, maintenance concerns with the pool. And then following that, we came up with some ideas for maximizing recreation, competition, and exercise options for a new pool. And so those were presented in July, and so simply we are here tonight to revisit where we're at with the pool, the city's decision on that, and what your next steps are. And so really, that's the reason why I'm here tonight, just kind of reopen that conversation. And I'll take any questions or take any direction.
Anybody got any questions for Brian?
And so obviously, some of you guys walked in and we were meeting with Brian with just a quick overview of just what he is talking about. I think we just need to talk about that quick so everybody else knows what's going on. Honestly, we don't really know what's going on, so does that help? You guys good with that? We're gonna push forward and try to meet with the county. Tammy's gonna set up something here so we can get together with them before we move a whole lot farther ahead. Brian is looking for somewhere along the line there, the pool committee, to have a commitment from the city of Miller. Are we gonna do this? Are we not? And we feel that the first thing we need to do is to be able to get the county involved. And so, kind of in our conversation there, I think we just ended it with, we'll do that. We'll get together again in 4 to 6 weeks, 4 to 8 weeks. Let's say 6, and we'll just go right to the middle, and hopefully we can come up with a whole lot more stuff at that time. Get some cooperation, see what cooperation is available, and keep the ball moving forward. So, but that was really more. Brian knows that, of course. That was really maybe more for the rest of you guys. That's a little synopsis just of what we talked about with Brian right before this meeting started. So.
So I've heard a couple of comments that the fundraising committee hasn't done any fundraising, and so just wanted you all to be aware, we don't plan on initiating any fundraising until we know that the city has a plan to replace the pool. And so as you work through your process to figure out what your next steps are, we'll continue to be around and paying attention, and then when we're ready to start, when you're ready for us to start, we'll go ahead and get started. But just want you to know that that's part of that process as well.
So basically, the repairs on the pool are actually going to be more than probably putting in a new pool. Is that kind of, you wanna put in a new pool, that's what I'm hearing?
Well, the pool's not big enough for swim meets, for
Oh,
one
I
thing.
see, yeah,
Plus, there's other problems besides it being too small.
so probably by piling a bunch of money into it, you were still gonna be
Yeah.
lower.
There's a lot of kids involved with the swim team and
Yeah, there is. So, what you're looking for is the county and the city to hopefully help smooth this along, and then we would do some fundraisers in the town to.
Right, so the pool has a lot of maintenance issues. Obviously, the pool is very old, it's cracked and leaks, right? It's been a little while since I've looked at the analysis, the pumps are aging, we've had issues with chemicals. As Terry said, the design is, in the sixties was great, or seventies or whenever it was built was great, but it's not great for the 2020s. And so, we've done an analysis, we've met with a firm that specializes in pools, found some ideas that work for recreation, for competition, for swim meets. We've had a swim team here for 30 years, and we can't host a meet here. So we think that we know we can add some value to the community by hosting a meet here at least once a year. And so, but again, all summer long, the kids are at the pool. It's a great opportunity. It's a great place for the kids to socialize and learn a good life skill on learning how to swim. And so, and again, we've got exercise folks that groups that swim together, people that lap swim. There's a lot of different ways that you can maximize a pool. And so we've done that analysis. We're just waiting now for what is our next steps. So.
Is there anything else? If not, thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. Okay, I'm going back up to number 1. Resolution number 2022-1 salaries, found on pages 9 through 10.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Good night.
Resolution number 2022-1, whereas pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 6-1-10, a complete list of salaries of all officers and employees must be published. Therefore, be it resolved that the following is a current list of salaries for the city of Miller officers and employees. You want me to read this?
We don't have to. This is the calculation of what was voted on last week with the 2% increase, and
Okay,
so it's,
so all we got, do we have to vote on it though,
Yes.
right?
not a roll call, just a regular vote. Not a roll call, just a regular
Just a
vote.
regular vote. Okay. I'm gonna call for a motion to either to reject or approve resolution number 2022-1 to where we can discuss it if there's any discussion.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 2022-1.
Okay, do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2022-1. Is there any discussion? If not, hearing none, if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Okay, the community access grant. And that's found on page 12.
This is more for informational purposes. I have not received anything officially that needs to be signed or anything at this point, but we were awarded the amount that we requested. And I only put in one page. There were several pages of communities that received this community access grant.
Well, what this is all about, it's for, to fix that area in front of the high school out there, that street it just won't stand up. So this is to fix that, put in a storm sewer, and, well, it's pretty self-evident, reconstruction, asphalt surfacing, storm sewer, sidewalk, and water improvements. So, do we wanna table that, or?
I think it's just for information purposes only. We don't need a motion until
Okay.
we get more documentation.
Okay, we'll go on then. Is there any questions about it? If not, we'll go on to Helms and Associates invoice 25285 for $2,659.67, found on page 13. That's for the Miller Airport.
I can bring it up next time.
I'd entertain a motion to pay.
I'll make a motion, we, pay SBN invoice 25250. No, I'm on the wrong one. The Helms Associates invoice 25285. How about that one?
$2,659.67.
Yes, that one.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to pay SBN invoice 25250 for, no, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong one too. It was the Helms.
Sorry, I started that.
25285 for $2,659.67. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Okay, now we'll go to SBN invoice. Number 25250 for $19,000. And that's for the Miller flood study down in the east part of town, found on page 14.
Is this the one we got the grant for?
Yes.
Make a motion to pay SPN invoice 25250.
Okay, we have a motion to pay SPN invoice number 25250 for $19,000 for the Miller flood study.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Okay, before you move on, I just wanted to ask one question. It says in here from this SPN that anticipated that they could present the findings in mid-January. Is that something that's been set up? Is that something that we can come to see, or is there gonna be a committee that reviews that, or what?
Okay, here's what it says. Model has been set up, run, and adjusted to reflect storm events and flooding that occurred in the past few years. Alternative improvements to reduce flooding are being evaluated. Each alternate is evaluating the cost of the alternate and the benefit seen from making the proposed improvements. It is anticipated that the findings of the study can be presented in mid-January.
Okay, so will they present those to your committee, or?
We have not talked to SPN about when or what they're presenting, or if they're gonna do it to the whole council or do it to the, so I'll let you know when I find that out.
That would be awesome.
So I'll just give you a call when I find out what the plan is, so.
Great.
Okay, we'll go to number 8, to designate depositories in the official newspaper. And I would entertain a motion to approve the Miller Press for the official newspaper. And you want one motion for both, for all those? And the official depositors, American Bank and Trust of Miller and Coin Financial Bank of Miller.
Yes, I'll make that motion to approve them, whatever.
Got a motion?
Yeah, we have a motion, do we have a
I'll
second?
second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to name the official newspaper, the Miller Press, and the official depositors, American Bank and Trust of Miller and Coin Financial Bank of Miller. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Number 9, South Dakota Retirement Systems Election Notice, found on page 15.
I believe this would be police officers, so maybe Wayne or Shannon wants to be on the retirement board for us.
They're studying it, they're gonna say yeah.
Thanks, Mitchell.
There's your guys' chance if you wanna move up in politics.
You know, I'll pass. Unless the Queen wants to do it. Think about it.
no takers right now, so.
I hear something. Legislative rib demo, page 16. I might be interested in that.
We do have to register by January 25th, so if anybody is interested in going, if you can let me know prior to then. So we could send in the registration, that'd be good.
Nobody should eat ribs in public.
I know, I was thinking the same thing. Why do they eat have the
Yeah,
messiest
they're the
thing?
messiest thing you can find to eat. You're supposed to eat it in front of a bunch of people.
I was hoping you left that.
Yeah, prime, that's right.
Prime rib.
Prime rib would be nice.
When is the registration goes?
The 25th, January 25th for the February 1st.
It's a good thing it's an informal dinner.
Yeah.
So anybody that's interested, let Shayla know, but. Number 11, DGR engineering agreement, and that's found on pages 17 through 19.
So I guess to get everybody up to speed, if you haven't heard, I've been trying to kind of head towards going to AMI meters. Basically a radio read meter, so we don't have to walk and read them. Save man hours, save labor, do load management. There's lots of benefits with this. A lot of times somebody's working, I'll probably know their power's out before they do and be able to take care of the issue and have it fixed before they're home. Been doing a lot of research. I try to get a bunch of this stuff in my budget, but I wasn't getting bids back when it was budget time. I basically have got a list of companies. Don't want to say it, I've got one narrowed down, but I found out that I just can't go and purchase that. So we have to do it the legal way. And from everything that Shayla and I have checked on, basically we need to have somebody write up specs and we need to go to bid and in order to go forward with this process that I would like to do. So this is the agreement that they would charge us basically to write up a bid. So that way we're fair to everybody and see what's out there. Shayla thinks that this is the way that, definitely the way we need to go to cover the city of Miller to do it right, so.
Now, do these have repeaters and stuff around, or they're strong enough to come right in here?
When we get into the one I actually picked, it's redundant, it's actually a mesh system, so they can work off of each other. I don't really wanna, we can get into that when but yeah.
I think in the old day, they called that the turtle system. They jump from
Yeah.
one to the next to the
Yeah,
next
it's
and.
called a mesh system now, but yeah. So basically with this, we need they're gonna write up the specs that I'm looking for, put it up to bid. Basically, this says that this is doing it the legal way, so we're covered. I'm just trying to kind of throw it out there though, that I'm asking for permission for this, but then after this, I might also be asking for more money to pay for the system because I wasn't getting bids like I wanted to. I'm still having a hard time getting bids. There's only a select few that have actually given me bids because of the world we live in now, how tough it is to get things. so.
Have you checked with other communities that are using these to see if they're having any issues? or-
I've been, as far as what I've narrowed down to, I've been working on this pretty hard for about at least 6 months, actually, before our budget deal. And I was really upset that I had to actually pay somebody to write this up and do all this. I mean, Shayla was in there, I'm like, really? After I've spent all this time, I can't believe I gotta do this? So.
That's because you gotta cover your ass.
Yeah, basically.
He didn't
What
wanna
she
use
said.
that word.
Yeah, I was trying to.
I know he didn't, but it's the truth. In politics,
Yep.
they would come down hot and heavy on the city
Right.
miller if we didn't.
Wouldn't be quite so bad if they'd give you a bunch of grant money to go with that, but.
I've actually asked, quite a few, I've looked out there for them too, so.
For some
Yeah.
reason, the electrical system just doesn't have
Mm-mm.
grants,
No,
like the water sewer does.
Heartland, I mean, I've looked at other people's systems, looked, a lot of different things, so. We can talk about, I guess, the ones, once the bids come through, if you guys approve this, to keep having me go forward through, with this, with what I'm trying to achieve here.
So Shayla, because you know, everything comes down to money. And I'm tired of paying surcharges. Would this actually raise
No,
more surcharges, more,
We have the money in the bank to pay for the whole thing.
we have, okay.
And when it comes to the budget, we've been saving for this particular
Yes.
project for years, so I don't think it's something that we have to legally budget for, is it? We can,
It'll just be a technicality, because he budgeted 100,000 for this year.
But can't you do a supplement to the
Yes.
budget if you have to?
Yes,
and that's
because
what
we
I'm-
have
I'm-
been saving for it. Ever since Bill started this, he's been saving for this part of the project as well, so that we would not have to do surcharges, so.
this just wasn't done, I think, I mean, he was cautious, which was great, just to let him work the bugs out, see what was out there, so, but that,
And you've technically found a system that you like,
yep,
but they have to write the spec. What happens if they write specs for it? Are they gonna write specs for the system that you picked?
they can't narrow it down,
But they can, but the specs will fit what you've already picked.
yeah,
What you've investigated
and there's actually two suppliers out there with the same system, so.
Some of the suppliers are getting really hard to get stuff out of.
Yep, and that was been the struggle, why I only put 100,000 at it, cause I had no idea what it was going to cost. I couldn't get bids, quotes, I couldn't get any of that.
is that because they're having a hard time getting the equipment, the stuff?
Just like everything,
Supplies?
it's getting more expensive, computer chips.
Yeah, they don't wanna.
Yep, I mean, there were some suppliers that I would've entertained, and they just told me no. They said, you won't get it for 2 years. You wouldn't, you'd be wasting your time.
so you need a motion to approve this task order?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll need a motion to approve it.
With knowing what's coming.
Yeah, I don't think we wanna approve this
Exactly.
kind of money without being able to follow through, right?
I'll give you basically a rough figure from everything I'm looking at, I'm gonna tell you high. Basically, it's gonna be about a $300,000 system. So, and that's high. That's, so,
And this is something you guys do. not-
we're gonna install it all.
Right.
Yep, that's just the system.
They'll send support for the office staff
Yep, and
to
that's some
install
of
the software for this.
Yep. Both and back us up, and that's all part of, gonna be in the spec too. So, which is already in a lot of the suppliers. information that they've provided to the customer support, so.
Does this have the ability to piggyback on if we wanted to add water at some point in time?
Yes, I honestly didn't, if they didn't have water capabilities, I didn't look at them, so.
What we're talking about here is a cost of $1,200 for
12,000.
approximately. Or 10,000 or $12,000, yeah. Do we have a second for this motion?
I don't,
Is that a total of 12,000?
What's that?
The construction phase says 2,000 estimated fee hourly.
Yeah, that's just what we might need on the construction fee, to do the bid and the design and the specs and advertise and all that. 10,000 is what it's gonna cost us to get there. But after that, if we need a little bit of assistance, they'll do it on an hourly fee.
All this is to get them to write a specs for it, and then you'll have to bid it, there'll have to be a bid date set,
Yeah.
that's all this is.
And they'll go through the bids to make sure the bids are
Yep.
follow through, so.
I mean, the big benefit here too, I mean, it's, when they write it, I mean, it's to make sure that we're getting what we want also. It's gonna be a contract for the supplier to sign also, so we have some say.
So we're not approving this task order number 11 then, that was dated 16th March 2015.
That's the original task of DGR. This is 11, which is an attachment to that original one. This is how DGR does it. So originally, we had a task order started in March of 15.
Okay.
This is just a continuation of theirs, helping us with these projects.
Okay.
So
I think this was one he was just kinda sending to give us an idea, right?
this is the actual task order that we would need to sign, that Ron would have to sign.
That's why them dates are on there though.
Yeah, those dates were just the original. Task order number 1 was March of 15. Since then, we've had multiple task orders for every little project that we've done and big project.
Yeah.
1 through 10 were all the other projects that we've done in the last couple of years. Substation was one. you know,
Yeah, I'd
all
say
of
that's
those
the one
ones.
he sent, that's why I was thinking.
Is there any more discussion?
So we need a motion yet too. I haven't gotten a motion yet.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve
I
task
thought-
order number 11.
Jim made one, and
Either,
I just did.
what?
I just made the motion to task order number 11.
How do we have a second? I thought somebody made one right off the bat.
I just asked if we needed one. I'll second it though.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the task order number 11. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thank you. Thank you.
KBA engagement letters. Did Emily get the letters here?
yeah, that's part of it. It's the exact same letter we get every year from KBA. And this is our annual report one.
This is just for the annual report, isn't it?
Yes.
Is everybody satisfied with KBA doing this annual report on audits? I would entertain a motion that we approve them to do the annual report on the audits.
I'll make the motion. We have KBA do our annual report and audit.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to have KBA do the annual report on audits. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Number 13 is building permits for Bill Llewellyn to remove a carport, Trudy Stevens for a trailer house. Has everybody looked at the building permits?
May I ask a question? Bill Llewellyn's carport is at his house,
It was at the house next to his door. Yeah,
and Trudy Stevens, what's the address of the trailer house?
it's at the trailer park.
Oh, the one before down.
Yeah,
It'd be a different one.
it's up by his house.
There's another one that they moved into that trailer park.
Yeah. There's like 7 different lots up there. They're moving in. I don't know which lot this one is, 5, I think. She's moving in a new trailer. They moved out old ones and they are moving in newer.
Tore one out, they put one in there, and then there was two, I think there's 2 other empty lots. They put one of them on one of them.
I'll make a motion to approve the building permit.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second to approve the building permits. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Oh, the next thing on the agenda is executive session for personnel pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, parent 1. We'll now have to have a motion if we're gonna have an executive session to to adjourn the regular session and go into executive session.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. We'll go in at 8:01.
Can we go in at 8:03 while I take a short break?
I was split the difference.
You know what you're doing. Probably more than I do.
Done a lot of research in that.
Okay.
I think that. Too bad. You gotta stay. They shut the door on you.
Yeah. You're locked up now.